Hello and welcome to the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We bring you interviews from people who have conquered the trickiest of health challenges using the functional diagnostic nutrition philosophy and similar healing modalities. You're going to hear from experts who have been through the ringer with their health issues and yet managed to come out on the other side. You can always visit us at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com, but for now, here is today's episode. All right, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transu, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show. Episode number 480 of the Health Detective Podcast. If you have not heard the news, I guess me always framing that intro in the way that I did, I will be your host for today's show, was a smart thing to do. So unfortunately, this will be one of the last podcasts I will be hosting here at FDN. It's actually my second to last, so I'm glad that we got to get this guest on today. As far as I know, the podcast will not be dying. That would seem pretty silly to do after 480 episodes. My official last day is Friday. I absolutely love you guys. I've said this in a few podcasts, so I don't want to take 10 minutes on this each and every time I want to get to our guest today. But I'm very easy to find. A ton of you have reached out to me on Instagram and Facebook. Please feel free to get connected to me there. I know this is funny for a 30-year-old guy. People don't expect Facebook to be my platform of choice. That's the one I'm on the most for whatever reason. So if you'd like to connect with me there, I would love to be connected with you guys as well. And again, stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm sure something will be coming up soon. I don't think it's going to be in the next week or 2 weeks, but they will get something figured out. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys in the future there. And I'm looking forward to staying connected on social. Now, with all that said, I want to invite you guys to two things. I will not be a part of this personally, but there's still some amazing people involved in it, obviously. One is our Health Space Unmasked event this Saturday. That's with Dr. Nabaz Habib. So I did get final confirmation. Someone else will be hosting that for me just so I can kind of do my thing. And my last day, again, will be Friday. Now, on Saturday, how that works is once a month, first Saturday of each month, we have some kind of guest on that can speak very in-depth about their topic, right? Which a lot of our podcast guests can too, but we only have one a month that does HSU. Normally, they're speakers that speak at conferences. So we've actually gotten to see Dr. Habib at the Hicks conference last October. He's phenomenal. He's also been on this podcast. So how Saturday will work is basically it's a conference that you can attend for free that only has one session that you're more than welcome to show up to in your pajamas. So it's kind of the best of all worlds there. So you'll get to hear Dr. Habib's talk on the vagus nerve, and then we purposely leave a lot of time for both Q&A and discussion. So there's almost 45 minutes to an hour allotted for the Q&A and discussion section, and that's on purpose. It's so that you guys can learn as much about that topic as you like, and if you have follow-ups from the things that he's sharing with you within that presentation, you can get that answer. So that'll be fdntraining.com/HSU. That's fdntraining.com/HSU. One other thing we got to shout out before we get moving today is our 5 and 5. So that'll be coming up I believe that's next week, next Monday. And that is fdntraining.com/HDP, like Health Detective Podcast, fdntraining.com/HDP, the number 5, literally the number 5, in 5. So that's 5 and 5. And what that is, two people that would want to come to this. One, you're never going to be interested in FDN, but you are interested in the lab side of things. So if you'd like some additional training, it's not going to be a training that shows you how to use every functional lab perfectly. That's ridiculous. That can't be done in just 5 days. I think you know that. But it would help you get some training for a very cheap price. I think it's only a few bucks if you go through the podcast. The other person that would really benefit from this is someone who is looking into the FDN course. So I, at this time of recording this and doing this live rather, do not have any workshop that I know of where we show off the FDN system better. So for pennies on the dollar, if you're interested in the FDN course, instead of jumping right in and investing almost $10,000 for the program, which is worth it, but you might not want to do that as your first step. I get that. Go to 5 and 5 first. See if you like it. And if you like it, 100% FDN's for you. It's just a question of when and not if. And for whatever reason, if you don't like the 5 and 5, sadly, that would probably mean FDN is not a good fit for you. So that's fdntraining.com/HDP 5 and 5. All right, I got through that pretty fast. So let's get to our guest today. He has a nice bio here, and I finally got my teleprompter working again, so I can pretend to stare at you guys while I read his bio here. Tim is one of those guys that will leave you feeling younger and more energetic just by hearing him speak. His passion flows out of him like a fresh waterfall in a dry desert. He's 51 years old, but feels like he's 18 and with more energy. So what's his secret? After suffering from multiple health issues, including rectal bleeding, 2 separate skin conditions, anxiety, chronic acid indigestion, and surgery to remove one of his organs due to serious digestive problems, Tim knew something had to change. But it was only after watching his closest loved ones die of cancer and experiencing the untimely death of his younger brother that he finally decided to take action. Tim's journey led him to a shocking discovery, which helped his friend Charles beat cancer and transform every area of his life. Feeling charged with the duty to help others, Tim began sharing his knowledge with anyone who would listen, and certainly we have an audience for you today. This passion led him to start producing his own doctor formulated, chemical free products to support people during their transformation at home. Chemicalfreebody.com, that's chemicalfreebody.com, was born and is now one of the most trusted natural self care brands. Tim's inbox is constantly flooded with people singing and dancing about his teachings. His products have given them a life they never thought possible, and his story will have you laughing, crying, and gasping. But most importantly, he'll give you the recipe to a longer, happier, and healthier life. That is genuinely, in 480 episodes, one of the most fun and best bios I have heard. So welcome to the show, Tim.
I'm 52 now.
Okay, there you go.
I just told her I got to get that updated.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks
for having me here. Very excited. I have, I've been working with FDN quite a bit. I've taught, I think, four classes to the coaches already on the coaching calls over the last year or so. So I really had a good vibe with Reed when I originally interviewed him on my show, and I was just fascinated. I was like, oh, I really like his story where, he was in the trenches doing all these tests, and after a while the doctors started coming to him and asking him the questions because he was doing it all day long. He became the specialist, and I'm just excited as a health coach myself on what you guys are doing at FDN and how you're able to actually use measurable results to help get people to get people results, where you actually measure things and do the testing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you for contributing to our world, and I'm looking forward to this today. Now, Tim's a guy, just so you guys understand, he could talk about many topics, and I'm sure we will kind of intersect things here. One of the main things we wanted to discuss today was the water side of stuff. But since it's relevant to him, and I could never leave that bio without diving in deeper, I will ask you the same question that I've asked almost to probably 450 of the guests as the starting question here. I'd like to know, if we can, more about your health symptoms and when they started, because there's a lot of stuff that you listed off there, but when did this actually begin for you, if you can remember, and what did it look like at the time?
Well, I think, it's kind of a quiet happening, right? So you get, I actually played baseball at a high level. I played for 30 years. I was pretty fit. I was athletic, and I kept moving, so I felt good. But the processed foods eventually got me, and I had no idea. Like, I had no idea how that, like, there's actually poison in the grocery store, and it's like 98% of the food, probably greater, in grocery stores is slowly killing us. In fact, 4,300 people per day die from processed foods. Now let that sink in. That's like a 9/11 and a half event every day. So yesterday, 4,300 people died. Today, 4,300 people died. Tomorrow, 4,300. So everybody kind of knows where they were during 9/11, but it's bigger than that today. And it's just this quiet, silent killer. And so that was, I would say probably in my late 20s, I started gaining weight. And, by 37, I was a big mess. I was a big mess. And that's when everything turned around. So I was, I started gaining weight, and then I started getting a skin issue on my knee. I got eczema, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden my other elbow and my other elbow. And then there was some like my neck. And then I had this other skin issue on my back. And then I had acid reflux. I was eating Tums and Rolaids 24/7. And I just had my head down, plowing, working as a financial advisor, raising my kids, paying the mortgage. And then it got worse. And then I started pooping blood. And then I just kind of, I went to the doctors, but they went to Prilosec and prescriptions. And like one of the prescriptions was side effects was rectal bleeding. It's like, I already have this. Like, I'm not taking that. That makes zero sense to me. So I didn't know it back then because I was still kind of a sheep. I'm just kind of going along with what my mom and dad and society was doing. But I knew, I think instinctively, don't take those things. And I didn't. But I still had the issues because I didn't understand what had happened to me from the types of the food poison that I was putting in my body instead of food as medicine. And so it got worse and worse. And eventually I was on a vacation with my wife down in northern Peru in this beautiful thing, just south of Ecuador, on the beach with her dad. And her dad had never been on a vacation in 30 years. He was a medical doctor down in
Wow.
Lima, one of the biggest clinics. And within 4 days of being down there, something like that, I basically had an appendicitis attack, and I had to be driven in the middle. We missed the plane flight out of there by about 20 minutes. There's only one plane flight a day. And so we had to rent a van and drive down this bumpy road down the coastline to the next biggest city that had a hospital called Piora. And then I went into this place and I'm like, I'm in pain, man. I'm bent over at a 90-degree angle. I can't walk erect. It's bad. Her dad, he's a medical doctor and they're all talking Spanish. I go into the examination room and there's like 500 bugs flying around in my head. So it's like a MASH unit. I mean, it's not, and I'm like thinking, man, I paid into health insurance all these years and now I don't even get to use it. And this is kind of spooky because like the instruments looked very worn and old and all these bugs. I mean, I'm in a hospital and there's bugs flying all over my head, so, and he was like, I ain't going to have my son-in-law operated on here. So he basically talked to the doctors, had them dope me up with a bunch of stuff so I could walk erect. And then he booked the next flight out of town and we took a commercial air flying and I was basically life flighted and nobody knew. So he's like, look, I'll walk first. I'll talk. You kind of keep your head down because I didn't look good. And my wife was behind me. So they kind of sandwiched me to go through the airline and I got in. Like I said, you're not supposed to do this because I could have had a rupture any minute. And then we landed and then I went into a taxi. And then when I got to the hospital, he had the OR already prepped up and I went right into surgery. And, they saved my life, and I'm very grateful and for Western medicine for the crisis care that they were actually built upon. I mean, that's what Western medicine was built upon, was crisis care, and like MASH units, right, and gunshot wounds and tanks and all this stuff blowing you apart, and they're it's very a necessary part of medicine. But as far as the chronic stuff goes, they get an F. They failed. And it's evident, our children are now dying younger than us. And so I learned a couple lessons from that. One was I don't ever want to get surgery again if I can avoid it. I was thankful for it. But number two, that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me because I ruined the trip for not only myself, but for my wife and her dad. And the poor guy, after no vacation in 30 years, he's back in the hospital taking care of me.
What a story. I'm glad I asked more about that. It's a good way to get this rolling here. And so just to be clear, was this more of a, once you saw the hospital where you were at, that was kind of an intuition thing saying like, I just can't do this here. I'd rather bear it out.
No, I was so in pain. I was like, just help me, please. But her dad took the reins and he was the one. Yeah, because he had a state, I mean, the like number one or number two hospital in Lima, Peru, which is like 20 million people. He ran that thing. Wow. So he's like, this ain't my son-in-law ain't getting operated on here. Right.
Okay.
And the good news is that since I was the son-in-law of the guy who ran the hospital, literally, I had to buy the owner of the hospital, who was one of the surgeons, and this other lady that was a surgeon. I bought her a box of chocolates and I bought him a bottle of whiskey, and I was good to go. That's all it cost me to get the surgery done.
Nice. I do have to say this. I have a next question for you. Obviously, I just wanted to let you know you already have someone that knows you. Melanie's in the chat. So, Tim, I know all about you and Chemical Free from listening to Charlie Robinson. Great to see you. Thanks, Melanie.
Oh, yeah.
Good to hear from you. So, okay, follow up for this. So, obviously, that's a very scary thing. That's an insane story. That's kind of an epic way to start all this, if I admit. But I'd like to know more about how that transitions into you getting into the natural side of things. I know plenty of people who maybe not have such an epic story behind their appendicitis, but certainly have had it. And they'll go continue to live a very standard Western lifestyle. So it sounds like this was a major breaking point in terms of you starting to dive into new things. So how did that transition happen from I get this emergency surgery to now you're the guy you are today?
So that actually was, it made me think more about, like, I was still living in fear, and I'm like, God, if this happens, like, what's next? Am I going to get, because then I had a buddy of mine on my baseball team who was 40 named Kalei Mahoy. He got cancer and he died and he left 3 little kids behind. We're at the, at the church at his funeral. And I'm thinking like, I'm next. Like, cause I'm pooping blood. I have all these skin issues. I'm dragging, I'm pounding coffee and energy drinks and doing what I can to get through the day. And I just didn't get it. Well, then my friend Charles got diagnosed at age 43 with cancer. And then we went to the Hippocrates Health Institute, his idea, and he asked me to go to support him. And then we learned about, drinking water and and wheatgrass shots and green juices and putting living foods into the body and stop putting things that are acid in the body. And I learned all about detox, cleaning up the gastrointestinal tract. And within, a few days, I actually felt worse. I felt terrible. I had night sweats. I had headaches. I had a metallic taste on my tongue as metals were exiting my body. And then finally I woke up on like day 4 or 5 and I felt like I was 18 again. And I looked at Charles. I said, dude, I can't believe it. I'm like, I know you're going to heal from this cancer. I'm all in. I'm going to do this whole lifestyle with you. Let's go. And by the time I got home, I had dropped in 60 days, I dropped 42 pounds. All the skin issues in my elbows and everything was gone except for the patch on my knee. It took about 8 months because that thing had been there way longer and it was very thick and kind of calloused. And within 2.5 years of visiting that place, my buddy Charles healed himself. No chemo, no radiation, no surgery, and we looked like we were in our 20s again. And we got abs again. It was amazing. And so, him not dying was something that nobody can ever take away from me because he was my friend. I went with him on that journey. I watched him heal as I'm healing myself. I don't care how much alphabet soup you have behind your name, how many degrees. You could tell me that, plugging back to nature doesn't help to heal the human body. I mean, we are from nature. And that was something that was fundamental to me. And I started teaching classes, man. And I had about 5,500 people to my home. I teach these detox nutrition classes. They'd show up. I'm like, here's a shot of wheatgrass, drink that. I'm like, here's your green juice. Here's how I made it. Now sit down. And I'd tell them all this stuff. And then we'd sit down and have this living food dinner, a bunch of sprouts. My garage turned into a sprout growing operation. And we just started helping people. And I sold a lot of juicers for those juicing companies. And then I found out that most people don't want it. They won't juice. Number one answer, I don't want to clean the damn juicer. And so that's how I started. Eventually, I left financial advising after my little brother broke his neck on a mountain biking accident and died. And, that was, I didn't really know how to process things back then. And I remember screaming at the top of my lungs by myself upstairs, just because I'm so pissed that my brother's dead. Because I actually grew up as an only child. I was adopted, and I met him later. And so when he was 15 and I was 21, so I'm like, now I have this brother, and now he's taken away from me. So it was really sucked. Okay, it really sucked. And I was like, Troy, what do you want me to do? And I literally heard him say, do what you love and do it now. And that's when I picked up my phone and I called Jeff, my mentor in the financial advisor business. And I said, hey, dude, I'm out. He's like, out of what? I said, I'm getting out of financial advising. He's like, what? Like, I'm taking over his business. I'm the guy that's going to let him retire. And so this not only changed my life, but it's changing his life. But I was like, Jeff, I have to do this. I said, Troy's dead. He went out doing what he loved. And I can't actually say that. I'm like, dude, I can't stop talking to people about green juice and what it did for me and drinking water. And people are not doing it. I found out later, like 95% of people are not drinking good quality water. And that what they are drinking is crap. It's just not good. It's polluted. It's not structured properly. And so I went on and I just quit and I just started coaching people. I lived off my savings for a while until it was gone. And then we ended up starting this chemical free body brand and trying to be some clarity in a place where people could come and actually get stuff that's actually herbs and it's actually grown in high quality dirt. And, it's minimally processed and it's air dried and sun dried. So that whole business got developed out of me getting pissed about the products in the store being crappy. And then I realized that all the products pretty much are. And you can look at this in even clothing or anything. It's like everything's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And things don't last anymore. So I think we need to go back to smaller businesses, people that actually care about quality, because if you don't have quality stuff in your life, you're going to have a crappy life. That's where I'm at. And so that's kind of how the whole thing got started. And I've just been, running around yelling about this stuff for 15 years and trying to get healthier and upgrade my life every year and get better and better and better. And it seems to other people are interested in that as well.
Dude, what a roller coaster! There's so many great parts of the story. And then not that it's not great; it's just sad with some of the other things that you've experienced and been through. So I'm gonna highlight and focus on some of the positives. I love what you said about your friend having that amazing healing from the Hippocrates Institute. That's not the first time I've heard that. I actually had an amazing friend, Connie. She was much older than me, but She passed away from something completely unrelated, but she had gone to the Hippocrates Institute for breast cancer. And again, Tim and I are not making claims. We're not telling you guys what to do, just stories that you can listen to and make your own decisions with. So my friend Connie went there. She was in her 50s at the time, and she had breast cancer. She used 0 Western medicine interventions. And I've asked her about that. I've interviewed her. I said, Connie, come on, surgery? Nope, no surgery. I'm like, a little bit of chemo, and then you stopped and quit. She's like, no chemo. I'm like, any other medication whatsoever? She's like, Ev, I couldn't. I was scared at the time. She's like, I don't even know if it was smart, but I couldn't. And within 7-8 months, she went down there, did her thing, learned the principles. Within 7-8 months, the breast cancer was completely undetectable.
Did she, by chance, have a root canal or cavitation? You know, did you guys talk about that?
I'd love to have asked her. I don't know. Good question.
Okay.
No, I get where you're going with it, but I don't know.
Yeah. That was actually one of the classes I taught to the FDN coaches was oral health beyond the drill. So that's usually if there's breast cancer, there's the root canal, the meridian point linked to that breast has either got a root canal in it or had one, or it's or a cavitation.
I've heard, I have heard that. It freaks me out. Well, I don't want to get off on a side note here, but in very early 2020, I had a lot of cavities when I was younger. When I started to get healthy, I did not experience the thing. I'm not saying I can't achieve this, but I did not experience the thing where some of them reversed. What did happen is I stopped getting new ones, thank God. And the progression slowed greatly of the ones that I did have. And I did get, I have one tooth that has a root canal. It's like one of my back molars, like one of those huge teeth, which, maybe now I should reflect on this because it's been 5 years and I have a little more money to work with.
Just the easiest way to do this is just go find a biological dentist. You can go to IAOM as in Mary T.org. That stands for International Academy of Medicine and Toxicology. Find yourself a good biological dentist that does 3D imaging and have them check it out, and you'll know quickly. Because if you get that sucker out, it could save your life.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Because it's one of those things when you do, I guess I might chill out a little bit more now, obviously, but when you do so many podcasts a week, as you probably experienced too, it's like, I hear all this great stuff. It's not that I don't want to apply it. It's like, holy cow, if I applied everything that I heard, it'd be tough. And so, unfortunately, I think I've allowed certain things to get to the back burner. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
And that's a more approachable way of doing it. So you're not saying, oh, just run and go get it removed immediately. At least see the evidence first, which that would help me. Because if I see it, I'm going to be motivated to remove it. I admit, I think there's probably some fear around removing that and then getting the implant if I want to and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of freaks me out.
Well, the bottom line is that you need to get educated on it. The percentages of the possibility that it's causing problems is like 99+%. Unless a really good biological dentist put it in properly, and they'll tell you that if they do it, they still want to monitor that every 6 months to make sure it doesn't fail.
Got it.
So if your dentist is not monitoring it every 6 months, that tells you it's like, you should just get excited about it, because what's going to happen is your immune system is going to go up because you have a 24/7 systemic infection draining. It's like having a sliver in your butt and it's infected, and every time you sit down, your butt hurts, right? But you just ignore it because in this case, it doesn't hurt. It's too internal and you don't feel it. You see what I'm saying? You can't feel the sliver because it's so internal, but it's still an infection, and your body, your immune system is having to deal with that infection 24/7. So it's really cool because when I had my cavitation surgery, which is where I removed those infections from teeth being pulled, all my joint pain was pretty much gone in 30 days.
Tim, you're getting me, man. I got to do a follow-up now. I think the audience likes when I use myself as a guinea pig. So I promise we'll get to the water, but no, I have to because I got to know something.
I'm on I have so many missions. Like one thing is oral health, because it's like people do all this other stuff and they don't even look at the mouth. They're not looking at the amalgam fillings. They're not looking at root canals. They're not looking at cavitations, and they're not looking at alignment, right? And the oral microbiome as well. So anyway, I'll let you keep going.
No, thank you. My question is, since you're way more experienced than me, I've always wondered, because I do know people that have said I got them removed and I felt better almost instantly, like within like a week or two. So fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
My question is, how fast is it possible for someone to start feeling some of the negative? Like if you just got the root canal, I would assume, I could be wrong, totally wrong, but I would assume it's not infected overnight. Like how long does it typically take for that to happen? I'm asking for a reason, but I'm just curious, like how fast.
Well, you might not feel it at all. Or it might be you were so tolerable. It was such a slow, it's like putting a frog in the water and slowly turning the heat up. Like, think about me. I'm 52. I've been teaching these classes for 10 years on oral health. And I had 3 cavitations because somehow I got the mercury out. I don't have any root canals. I oral microbiome, all this stuff. It's a long story, but for some reason the freaking conversation got missed. And I went down when I moved down here to take care of my mom and dad when they started aging. I neglected myself. My mom got cancer. I had to do her hospice care. 3 years later, I hadn't even had a teeth cleaning. And then I had a biological dentist on my podcast. She's like, "You haven't had your teeth cleaned in 3 years. You need to get that done now. You have major issues." So I said, she's like, "Let's test it like you guys do." So we got an oral microbiome test and found out it was not that great, but she couldn't believe how good it was for how much neglect I had for not having. And then I think that a lot of that's for my lifestyle and some of our nano silver products that we have. So I go down there and they're like, "Oh, we need to do a whole scan on you. It's $900. I'm like, "No, I just want to get my teeth cleaned." Like, "No, we have to do this intake." And they did it and they found 3 cavitations. And I'm like, "No way."
Wow.
And I got that removed and it changed my life. It changed my life.
I will get on it. Maybe this is why you're supposed to be one of my last podcasts that I host here, because I'm never going to forget
Of course,
this now.
that's exactly how synchronicity is supposed to work. If you're the right place at the right time, everything just lines up when you're following your excitement and your joy.
Yes. So with that said, I only ask because when the pandemic, so this was February 2020, I got the root canal. And now remember, I only got into this because I'd been sick very young. Like I was sick from like 5 to 18, got a little better with FDN and stuff, and was willing to do this as a passion and as a lifestyle, just like you. And ever since the pandemic, I feel good. I do a lot of stuff, but there's something, you notice these things, right? When you get healthy, you start to notice subtle things that you wouldn't have paid attention to before. And I've always felt like there's been a little bit more fatigue. Now, for years, of course, I attributed that to, okay, I'm a very social person. You seem quite extroverted like me, or at least we love people. And we want to be out here doing this stuff. And all that stuff got shut down for a little bit. So, of course, I'm like, oh, I'm having a mental health experience right now that's being exhibited as fatigue. But it's 2026. I don't experience that anymore. And I've always wondered, I'm like, well, if I had been sick my whole life and I had just in the last years prior to that had just finally gotten healthy, and then all of a sudden I get the root canal, I don't know. I promise I will look into it now because of this. And I'm in Austin,
Awesome,
so I know
dude.
there's got to be some great people down here.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, sir. All right, structured water. Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah, structured water.
they got to be used to this. They know exactly what a podcast is going to look like with his guests. So I want to know, when you kind of alluded to this, but when you started learning about the differences in our water, because it's like so funny how we just assume, like you said, you go into the store like, oh, I didn't know I was kind of being poisoned by the things on the shelf. I don't think that makes someone, dumb. I think very smart people experience this because it's not intuitive. Like, why would we assume that we're all able to go to these stores and just this stuff that blatantly kills people is allowed to be sold? So we don't think about that. Now, similarly with water, the waiter will come over if you're at a half decent restaurant being like, hey, would you like, sparkling or still? Do you want tap or bottled or whatever? And there's always the person that's like, I'll just take the tap. I don't need the bottled stuff. And ironically, depending on where you're at, maybe one's better than the other. But can we start to talk about now, what are some of the differences with water, particularly these differences with Purified, which of course the mainstream sells as the gold standard, versus a structured type of water?
Well, okay. So let's set some groundwork here. Number one, 95% of people are not drinking enough water to be healthy. And the water they are drinking is polluted. Actually, when I went to Hippocrates, Dr. Clement was talking about these water researchers. There were 6 of them. I don't remember their names. It's been a while. And he said they went all over the world and they tested water in streams and lakes and brooks and all over the place and the most pristine areas. And they were finding that 1,500 miles into the interior, away from man, no big city, no nothing. I'm talking these pristine lakes up in the mountains like in Alaska. They were finding 2 and 2.5 inch fish that had both male and female organs. And why? Because of the high amounts of estrogens in the fish from the microplastics that have gotten into our biology in nature. That's how pervasive it is. And if you think about everything that you own that's polyester or lycra bras or any of that stuff, or even if you have cotton underwear, if that's not organic cotton, it was sprayed with pesticides. Cotton is the second most sprayed crop on the planet. Those pesticides are also estrogen mimickers. Every single time you wash those clothes, microplastics are going out into the water supply. Right. And that's just the beginning of it. It's like everywhere. All the plastic bottles. You guys have probably heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's this huge patch out in the Pacific Ocean that's as big as a state. and it's just plastic. And even ship captains have to plot courses around it. All those plastics are getting hit by the sun. They're breaking down. They're getting into the ecosystem. So our water is polluted today. Okay, now let's go to the 1970s. You guys can look this up. It's really fun. So the fish in the Great Lakes were dying. They were dying. They were flopping up onto the beaches. Then the birds started eating those fish, and the birds started having thin eggs, and then they started dying. Do you think in a million years that people were like, oh my God, let's set up gurneys all over around the banks of all the Great Lakes and start feeding the fish chemotherapy or giving them some type of drug to save them? No, the biologist said, I wonder what's in the water that's killing the fish. It's just common sense. But common sense isn't too common anymore for some reason. I think the reason why is because we're hijacked in a messaging campaign, and there's a lot of fear, and we're busy, and it takes two parents to go out and work, and things are tough. Like I had to move to come home to take care of my parents because they couldn't take care of themselves anymore. It's not a bad thing. It's probably a good thing, but I would rather my mom and dad have good health, right? And lots of people in my town, I'm running into old friends from high school. A lot of them are coming back to take care of their parents too, right? That's just the age group I'm in. I'm 52 now, as I said, you know. So the problem is, like, if you have a fish in a fish bowl and that fish is healthy and the other fish is not healthy, what do you think might be the problem? There's something in the water that's killing that fish. So that water is the environment that the fish is living in. What is your environment? It's the light that hits your body and then goes into your eyes. It is, and let me give you an example. It's like it's supposed to be sunlight. And when sunlight comes up, it has certain colors and rays, and it changes throughout the days, and the blue lights get higher in the day. This is waking you up, changing the chemistry in your body. Your body is a chemistry experiment every day. And then as it gets darker, the red lights and stuff come in. But then, now I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but when you're driving, people's load lights on their cars seem like years ago what the bright lights were. And now the bright lights are just, shit, it's bad. Like, so I went and got myself some, these Theraspec glasses because I've been looking at the spectrums of different lights, like campfire light and stuff like that. And you look at the spectrum of these headlights and it's just blasting you with blue light. So you take your family, you go watch your son's, play when he's 6 years old. You come home in the wintertime, it's dark, and you get blasted by these lights, and your family gets blasted by these headlights, and you've just destroyed your sleep for the night. You've destroyed it because it's not natural. It's not nature. So now, okay, let's just calm down. We understand it. We have to start wearing these types of glasses, like when we're doing late night work or if we're driving, right? So our environment is our light. It's the air we breathe. We breathe 400 gallons of air per hour. So you want to breathe clean air. Crack your windows at night in your home, especially these energy efficient homes. They're toxic coffins. The glues are off gassing from the particle board. Dr. Stephanie Seneff showed us that these laminate floors are directly linked to autism in children. Carpets are off gassing formaldehyde, so you're basically slowly embalming yourself if you've got a plastic carpet, which is polyester and that kind of stuff. Get air purification systems, especially where you sleep. Crack your window at night on the cheap. The next thing is water. Okay, it's a big input. Your body's mostly made of what? It's mostly made of water. And we know that the water in the world is polluted today. So yeah, we have to purify our water, but we also have to do one more step. We have to restructure it. So what is structured water? Structured water is the fourth phase of water. Instead of H2O, it's called H3O2. All right. So Victor Schallenberger's got a bunch of stuff on this. You guys can look it up. Is one of the original people that was talking about structured water. Dr. Gerald Pollack is a professor of up at the University of it's bioengineering at the University of Washington. He studied water extensively, and he's talked about this fourth phase of water. So what are the phases? Well, growing up, we knew about liquid water. We drink it. Okay, liquid, phase one. Phase two, it's a gas. It's steam. You boil some water, steam goes up in the air. That's phase two. The third phase of water is solid. It's frozen. It turns into ice. The fourth phase is this structured water. It's called exclusion zone water, or EZ. E for exclusion, Z for zone. And or gel water. Let's just think of it as gel water. And so every single plant has gel water inside of it. Like, this is one of the reasons why I believe Hippocrates Health Institute is helping so many people. It's not just the phytonutrients they're getting from the sprout juices and the cucumbers and the celery and the vegetables they're juicing, and they're having you pour these juices down. It's that water that you're drinking in those juices is structured perfectly by nature. Structured water is at a hexagonal 120-degree bond angle. It looks like a hexagonal shape. The water in society today has been messed up by these pipes and man messing with it. It's at 105.4-degree bond angle. It just doesn't work as good in the body. So you can drink a ton of this water, but it doesn't absorb. It doesn't get into the cell mitochondria. It just doesn't work that well, right? So this is why so many people that I've run into, Evan, they're drinking water, and they're like, I drink so much water, but I'm dehydrated. I feel thirsty. It's because you're drinking water that's not structured properly. And so, people, we have products that we have whole house units and handheld devices and water. We'll talk all about that, garden units. But on the cheap, you can just throw some chia seed in your water. And that gel that comes on the outside of those chia seeds, that's structured water. You can throw flaxseed. You can throw flaxseed into water. In one of my ebooks, flaxseed water is like we love it for gastrointestinal health. It creates this mucilaginous gel-like water, right? That's structured, that it's like calming to the gastrointestinal tract. It's a great soluble fiber for the gastrointestinal tract, and it's a fantastic omega oils for the body, for the joints, for the cell membrane. It's just amazing stuff, right? So exclusion zone water is the fourth phase of water. And what's really cool is that you can see this stuff. If you see Dr. Gerald Pollack's work, they put a straw like floating in this water, right? And what happens is you have some material, let's say the inside of a straw. And when you have exclusion zone water, that the water has positive and negative charges. Well, there's a little zone that starts happening next to that material that's all negative. So the positive charges get pushed out and it excludes the positive, and now you have this exclusion zone of all negative next to that material, like the inside of a straw. Okay, so think about this. You have a fish tank full of water, a straw suspended in the middle. They throw a light on it. What do you think would be happening if nobody's touching that straw? There's no nothing. It's just a solid tank. What do you think would be happening with the water? Is it moving around, or is it just static?
Yeah, I hope I'm not getting into a trick question here, but no, I would not assume the water's moving around.
You think it'd be static. But if you put dye into that water and then you put a light on it, the water is going through that. It's going in one side of the straw and coming out the other like a pump. It's unreal. Well, guess what else is like a straw? Our cardiovascular system. So most people think that the heart is pumping our blood through all of our arteries and our veins and our hundreds of thousands of miles of capillaries. No, the heart is a vortexer. It's shoving blood out to certain areas, but there's no way it could do that. What's happening is inside of every artery, vein, and capillary, we have what's called an exclusion zone. It's that negatively charged area where the positive ions are excluded from the water, and we have that little, and it's the fourth phase of water inside of us. That is doing the pumping. It's shuttling most of the blood. Now, most people know like the endothelial cells is the last like physical layer, and those endothelial cells are like pumping nitric oxide to help with blood flow. But it's really the exclusion zone that's doing the work. And I mean, both of them are doing it, but it's and working in tandem. But it's really exciting. So what we found out is that that when you take a sauna, a far infrared sauna, you can actually increase your exclusion zone in your arteries, veins, and capillaries by like 4 to 5 times.
Wow!
When you're breathing like molecular hydrogen. So that's one way of doing it. Or another way is just drink structured water, right? I do both, right? So it's the things you can do. So that's really exciting because it's all about flow. It's all about blood flow. When people are getting older and their skin starts looking older and they start getting age spots, it's because capillaries are becoming dormant. The flow is not happening. And so if you can get the flow going again, if you can increase the exclusion zone, you're going to increase the flow of that blood in the system. And it's going to take nutrients to working muscles and take inflammation out, take nutrients to the skin, deep into the organ systems, cleaning stuff out. You got to have good flow. You don't want to be a mud puddle. You want to be a flowing river. And if with good flow, you're going to live a longer, healthier, happier life. And it just works. And you should see what it does with plants. We get about 1.5 to double the plant growth when the water hits a plant. It's unbelievable.
You hit on a lot here. As funny as it might seem, because it might be one of the more simple things that you talked about, but what stuck out to me more than anything is I think you finally just connected something for me that I've been trying to figure out for a while. So as a good health experimenter, you start to, as you know, start to connect things to nature. And you're like, okay, what would my ancestors have done? I'm obviously not doing exactly what my ancestors would have done, but can I do this to the best of my ability? What can I try to do similar to them? And one of the things that always confuses me is you see these mineral supplements and stuff. Now, by the way, I take them, and I also notice that I feel better when I put the minerals in my water. But what I've always thought about, I'm like, okay, Ev, is this working for me? Yes. Are my lab tests getting worse? No. Is my subjective well-being getting worse? No. So I'm not saying it's not working, but what's always I've wondered, I'm like, well, wait, my ancestors weren't putting 2,000 extra milligrams of sodium and magnesium and all this kind of stuff in their water every day. Why do I feel like I need to do this just to even stay hydrated? And so you had brought up one thing in the middle of what you shared with us, saying the structured water, or lack thereof, I guess I should say, is one of the reasons you believe people can drink a gallon of water a day and yet still they feel dehydrated. Because I think that's a very common experience that many people share.
Yeah. And what's cool about it is when you drink structured water, you can drink way less. And the whole thing is like, yeah, we need minerals because the freaking 85% of the minerals and the nutrients are not in the soil anymore. So they're not in the food chain. They're not in the
Right.
plants or the animals that ate the plants. So supplementation is not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity, just like believe like massage is today to move the lymphatic system. But so another cool thing about structured water is that with our device, it's not like the gel water and other stuff, is that when the water passes through our Water Hero device, it actually creates what's called an endothermic reaction. What does that mean? It means it's bringing energy into solution. And I was like, mind blown. So the guy who developed this is like a Tesla genius guy. I mean, it took me like a year to sit down with him and try to understand it before I was going to put my name on it because it's like way over my head. Mm-hmm. But what's cool is that the temperature actually drops 0.4 to 0.7 degrees, depending on the pressure, when it goes through this little pipe. Well, that pipe is not plugged into anything. So I'm like, how is it getting energized like this? This is crazy. And so what he did is he takes certain crystals that vibrate at a certain frequency and then sends them off, has them mined and cut at a certain angle. And then he puts them in a certain pattern inside of these copper tubes. And then you just run the water through it. And so it's bringing energy into solution and restructuring the water. But the other cool thing is it's actually restructuring the minerals that are going through the water. So things like calcium that are like calcites and aragonites. These are the things that people know as like water scaling. You get the stains and you hard water. They're having to deal with that. Many people like in Florida and places, they have to do these big water softeners and people come in and dump a bunch of salt and it's very horrible on the environment so that they don't stain all their sinks and their tubs and they can actually wash their clothes and they get clean with very little soap. What happens is that when those calcites and aragonites go through the Water Hero, the structuring system, they turn to vaterite. It restructures them back to the hexagonal shape of vaterite forms of calcium. And this is why strawberry growers love this system to irrigate, because strawberries that you see are red and they're not that sweet. That's because they don't have vaterite forms of calcium. But if you water with this water, all of a sudden the vaterite goes into the strawberry and it becomes very, very sweet. So if you have somebody that's kind of grumpy and angry in your home, you can give them structured water and they'll become very sweet.
Oh, good. I need to work on that. I think myself. My wife would like to give me that. We have an audience question here. Hey, Em, I'm glad that you tuned in. And just so you guys know, we normally go for about 50 minutes. Tim's awesome. So if you have the time, I'll happily steal another 5-10 minutes of your time if that's okay.
Sure, man.
If not, let me know. So to structure with chia, she asked, you just add a tablespoon to quart? Do you need to drink the chia? Massage therapist, and I agree with the massage. Ha.
Yeah. Baby massage therapy is awesome. Yeah, so a tablespoon's great, and you can take chia water all the way to chia pudding too. Like you can just keep adding more and more chia. I drink the chia with the water. You would probably have to really shake the dickens out of it. Like if you put it in a mason jar, you'd probably have to leave at least a third of it of space. And then you'd have to shake it really, 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 really good. And then you could strain it if you want. So if you're adverse to doing chia, that's what I would do. I would do a lot of shaking to it. But otherwise, I just drink it. And I think chia seeds is one of the most perfect little foods to add into somebody's lifestyle, because it's also like flax. It's great for the gastrointestinal tract, great for those omega oils, great protein. It's just amazing.
Well, chia, to follow up to this too, and of course, I'm thinking the same thing. So the chia thing's awesome. I'm sure it sounds like the way that you even described it before. There's probably a more accessible way. I'm guessing you probably have to pay a little more. I'm at least open to hearing about it. So if I wanted to make structured water my primary source of water and not some of the stuff that I unfortunately get from the grocery store, I kind of go admittedly back and forth. If we hit a certain level, I'd love to just be buying. Or at least previously, I would have probably just bought the glass spring water. But we go half and half because at this point, the food bill is competing with our rent, if I'm being honest, especially living in the city. So, what could I do here to get structured water in my home? Or do I have to do the chia thing? Or is there another way that I can do it without the
Well,
chia seeds?
you would start, like, I would do flax water and chia water. That's super cheap, right, to
Mhm.
do it. And you can get the structured water. But with the Water Hero devices that we offer, not only is it structuring the water, but it's also structuring the minerals, and it's energizing the water, right? And we actually have some other stuff too that's like really cool. I mean, the mitochondria production goes through the roof. Nutrient intake goes up considerably, which is going to lower your grocery bill. I would also, Evan, I'd really suggest you try our organic energy juice. If you drink that twice a day, it'll cut your grocery bill in half, because your cells will finally be getting what they need, and the
Sure.
hunger signals will just shut off. We have a glyphosate bacterium test that we did, and I don't want to get into it, but the long short of it is that we've tested it, and it's, for somehow, we don't know. I can't prove this shit. We don't know if it's activating bacterium that are destroying the glyphosate in the soil samples, or if it's actually doing it in the solution as it passes through the system, but it's destroying glyphosate. So it's
Wow.
it's a pretty
Wow.
big it's a pretty big deal. So how do you do this stuff? You can start with a little handheld unit. We sell those on our website at chemicalfreebody.com. We also have a 3/4 inch whole house. Those are for one bathroom, two people or less. It's all about flow. If you have two bathrooms, three people or more, then you'll need a 1 inch unit. And then we also have a garden unit for people that want to get outside and garden and explode their crops and stuff. And so the only downside of the Water Heroes is we are sold out all the time. I think we might have a 3/4 inch. We had 20 more handhelds showed up yesterday, and they're all gone. I believe
It's a good problem to have.
they're gone. They're all handmade by the inventor and his girlfriend, and they've hired another person. They've got them trained up, and we have another hire coming on in March, is because we're just starting to ramp up. So everything, it's all handmade. But what people can do is they can either, it kind of depends on what we have. We either have a notify me type thing where you can put in your email and your name, and then we'll just send you an email when they show up, and then you just got to get on it because they go quick. Or we might start putting a prepay option in where people can just prepay, and the people that prepay will then get, obviously, precedence because they've paid. So when they show up, they're the first people to get them.
Nice. Yeah. And again, from a business perspective, what a good problem to have. But now I want to get on that prepay option.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
all right.
It sucks. I mean, we have over $250,000 of orders just waiting right now, just trying to fulfill.
Wow. Okay. Gosh. I mean, I feel like I want to throw this on Shark Tank somehow. I don't have that connection. I'm just saying that'd be kind of cool. If they knew that your problem was the manufacturing side, I feel like they'd be all over that.
Well, and for me, like, I know I really want to help people. I want to help people get their water right. I want to help them. I just want to have people have an energetic, vibrant life. But to do that, I live on a farm here, and we're starting a regenerative agriculture educational farm. My valley is beautiful, but they're spraying it with chemicals. So
Ah,
we're going to bring the Water Hero technology here. I'm going to bring bio experts in for soil health, and we're going to start teaching the farmers how to make more money and get off of the chemicals, and we're going to make a documentary out of it. I have a full-time videographer that just moved in with me for the next couple of years to videotape all these things that we're starting to do here. Because if I can do that, we had an orchard down in California that was dying of blight. It was a avocado and lemon orchard, and they put the they gave us 40 acres out of the 400, and we put the 3-inch custom unit on there, watered it, and within 1 month, the nutrition in the plant tissue samples went up 78.6% in 1
Wow.
month. And the trees that got that water had more growth than all the other trees had in the entire first part of the year, 6 months. And what was really interesting was the toxic aluminum had dropped 400% in the tissue samples. And we know that we're getting bombarded by aluminum. I won't get into the why, but there's a lot of aluminum in the world right now, a lot of the spraying up in the skies.
Tim, you're someone I could sit here with for probably 5 hours. I do want to throw M one more thing. She said, can you say the name again one more time, please? I was late to the call of the garden idea. So could you just say the name of the handheld device, please, one more time?
Oh, it's the technology it's called a Water Hero, and it's actually because it's H3RO, because it's actually the inventor. It's actually one of the correct terminologies of what the actual thing is, and we call our clients health heroes. And I thought we were like, oh my God, this is so amazing! It's it's serendipitous, It's like it's H3RO, so we call it the Water Hero, and it is a water and mineral structuring device that charges your water and will charge your life and your plant's life.
Beautiful. I'm excited. And seriously, I am, because I think when I was back in Pennsylvania, again, I'm in Austin now, but when I was in Pennsylvania, we had this kind of good source that I never really thought twice about. So there was a gentleman that got spring water. He bottled it in glass right at the source, had all the water reports. I constantly checked them. And I admit, like, once I got a lot of this stuff for me, Tim, probably similar to you, started out with, I only learned as much about each area of health to what I perceived I needed to get myself healthy. That's kind of where it stopped. It's like I would have went and done other things with my life just like you did prior to all of this, to be honest. So it's not that I don't want to keep learning. It's just like, all right, holy cow, there's like 20,000 things I could learn. Let me start here and make sure I'm at least doing something good with my food, at least doing something good with my water. But I admit, and I hate to say this, but I think hopefully this is one of the reasons I was a half decent host for these folks, is that I just admit where I'm screwing up. And I have allowed myself, ever since moving from Pennsylvania, which has now been a year and a half, to just kind of fall into the trap of, we go to Whole Foods, we get some glass every now and then, and quite frankly, we get bottled, like plastic bottled spring water, which
that might be why you're billed so much.
Yeah, I'm like, I know that this is not a good thing, but I just haven't. I need to go put myself in check, and thank God I still have the health right now that I can do this before it's too big of a deal. So I got a few things to do today. I got the structured water and finally get this root canal checked. So seriously, thank you, Tim. Let's talk about really quick where else people can find you. I know chemicalfreebody.com. We discussed that. Anywhere on social that they can connect with you or anything else?
Yeah, on Instagram, Chemical Free Body Guy. That's my personal Chemical Free Body Guy. I just did a post on dry fasting. It's got like 85,000 views on it. No food, no water for 8 days, and kind of the results. I think it's one of the best healing things in the world. And of course, God made it for free. I also want to mention, if people do go to chemicalfreebody.com, I'm pretty sure that we set you guys up as an affiliate. I want to make sure that people get a discount. So if for some reason it doesn't work, but use the code FDN and you should get a discount for that. And if it doesn't work for some reason, because I'm going to talk right after I get off this, I'm going to go talk to my affiliate manager and make sure we do, because I think she set that up with Lucy or somebody. But if somebody goes on there and they try to purchase a Water Hero or get a bag of organic energy juice or something like that, and the code doesn't work, just send us an email to support@chemicalfreebody.com. And I want to let you know I'm on it right now. We just didn't have time to chat pre-show because it was like I was taking care of my dad, and I got here right at the top of the hour, so I apologize for that. But I think it is working.
Yes, thank you for telling that to our audience. So I have our signature question today to finish off. And remember, guys, Tim knows a lot of stuff, so it might not be related to the water. It might be. We'll see. But the signature question on the show, my friend, is if we could give you a magic wand, and out of all these things that you've learned about health over the years and the things that you've experienced, you could get our audience to do one thing. So that means you can get us all to start doing one thing, or you can get us all to stop doing one thing. What is that one thing that Tim gets us to do?
For me, it would be to drink 2 concentrated these organic energy juices twice a day. And the reason why I say that is because I have an inner circle. I have people that I've been teaching in for 7 years, and we've got alumni and new people coming all the time. And when I interview them and I ask them, what was the one thing that you did out of all the stuff that we've taught and shared that made the biggest difference? They always say drinking those 2 energy juices twice a day that was it. Because by getting them to drink that juice, what do we get them to do? Number one, we got them to drink more what? Water.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The average person's drinking about a quart a day. You should be drinking about 3. So if you're drinking this energy juice twice a day, then you're getting your water, plus you're flooding your body with phytonutrients, right? And if your water's structured now, it's even better. And then when your cells finally get what they need, they stop sending the hunger signals. So you eat half as much food. Your lunch is half as much. When you eat a lot of food, you get tired. So you're half as tired because your body doesn't have to process all that food. You still want to eat food, and then you have you eat a smaller dinner because you have a second juice about an hour before dinner, and then you eat half as much dinner. But then something magic happens. Now you're going to sleep much better because when you have food in your gut, it's got to process it. Now, let's say you go to sleep and it's still in there. Well, guess what? You're not going to get into a deep, rested, restorative sleep if your gut's processing food. Once the processing's done, now your body has the ability to get into the REM sleep so you can rest and restore. And that's where healing takes place. And everybody knows this. When you get sick, what does your body do? It puts you in the bed and says, go to sleep and stop eating stuff, right? Because that's how we heal. Nighttime is the time to heal. And so by drinking that second juice at the end of the day, you get that flood of energy to finish your day. You eat half as much food, which less digestion, which allows you to get in that deep, restive, restorative sleep. And that thing, my friend, just starts building and building, and it creates this avalanche of energy. And with energy, now people can do the next thing that's good for them.
Awesome. I love how in 480 episodes, I still get something fresh with this every single time. You're an awesome guest.